Greetings, free to weed. Hi, my name is Richard Clement. I'm from Lansing, Michigan. I've been an activist for marijuana since 1975. I wanted to speak to a couple issues about the rule itself, and especially, okay, sorry about that. The impact on the legal system by adopting the rule that 80% of all marijuana arrests are of people of color. And by this rule in effect, we could eliminate that. It'll be a tax savings to the state of Michigan, okay? We would allow all the county prosecutors to go back and retroactively dismiss all marijuana charges to disorderly conduct based on medical proof. And one benefit of the rule is the removal of drug testing issues for employers in the state of Michigan for marijuana. We know that the state of Michigan has a drug testing rule in other companies that say marijuana is a Schedule I drug, and we change it to a Schedule III drug like aspirin, and will increase employment stability in Michigan because we have employers in this state that use drug testing to get rid of specific employees, targeted employees. We know there's a lot of ethnic discrimination in the marijuana type thing.
And what rule is specifically are your concerns related to?
The inventory rule and the one about the employment, okay, the staffing of the whole marijuana program. I noticed that you say you need one analyst, departmental analyst, and a couple of technicians. Well, I feel that you're going to need exactly 249 employees to manage this program because, A, you're going to need a database.
You're referring to the regulatory impact statement.
Right, regulatory impact statement.
Do you have any comments related to the actual specific rules? The regulatory impact statement is different than the actual proposed rules.
Oh, just got the inventory of that rule and the specific rule to eliminate the drug as a non from a Schedule I to Schedule III.
There's not a rule related to that.
Yes, yes. Inventory, quality control. The rule that talks about inspections when people want to go by inspecting the marijuana. If you're going to inspect it and regulate it and talk about inspecting people's growing operations, there's be some quality control on the quality of the weed, okay? In other words, if you're going to hire state employees to inspect people's grow ops, they can't grow, they put like basil in there and call it weed. They should go to jail for that. But if it's real marijuana, it should be of a quality enough to give you a good, satisfactory, for lack of words, buzz, okay, to take care of your problem, okay? But other than that, that's about the rules that I had, and you're going to need 3 to 10 programmer analysts to manage this program. Okay.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay. All right. And other than that, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next speaker is Clint Winger.
Hi, my name is Clint Winger, and I'm a retired corrections officer. They retired me from the Department of Corrections for physical problems, and I couldn't do the job. And I found that medical marijuana helps a lot with a lot of things. I've had a lot of pharmaceuticals that have caused tremendous problems. And I have a real problem with Rule 21, I think it is, the inventory.
Okay.
To me, you know, our president-elect has vowed to stop all the raids on medical marijuana states. But until he proves that that's the way it's really going to be, that's kind of like robbing a bank and leaving a note, you know, telling how you did it. It doesn't make good sense to me. So requiring us to do that just, you know, is unconscionable. And I hope that that gets changed, for one. And the notification of Social Security. I'm on Social Security myself. And if they get notified, I could lose all my benefits. I already lost part of my benefits because I admitted to smoking medical marijuana to a Social Security judge. So I know how that can happen. I don't want to see that happen to people. So that needs to change. There should be no notification to anybody, none. There's no need for it. It's a need-to-know situation, and they don't need to know. And that's pretty much what I've got to say.
Thank you. Next speaker is John McKean.
I bring my friend with me. Hi, my name is John McKean, and I come from Marquette. I represent myself as a patient. I'm just going to say that for me to get under that mask during my treatments, I had to sit in the parking lot at the hospital and smoke illegal marijuana. The way the rules are written right now, I'd be doing the same thing discreetly out in the public. I couldn't have got under that mask without taking a couple of hits off the pipe that I had. And even sitting at home to do this, I would have been in violation of the law because I'm sitting in front of two big picture windows. As a patient, during the height of my treatment, I could get from here to that wall and back to the couch. That went on for 3.5 months. I lost 75 pounds. They take out your teeth, they fry your face off you. Life is good today. Nobody has ever told me I'm gonna die. This pill bottle right here, this is my prescriptions for Percocets. I can carry this anywhere I want. But if I was to put a little bit of marijuana in this and bring it out into public, with the way the law is written, I can't get a padlock on this. It's not a tackle box. It's my medicine bottle. And like the gentleman before you, there's no doubt in my mind, medical marijuana helps me cope with the way life is. Eating, I ate through a feeding tube for 9 months, 4 ounces at a time, all day long for 9 months, to enhance my appetite. I don't know when or where I'm gonna be to take a puff off my pipe so I can eat something and try to get an appetite going. Eating is not a pleasure anymore. The issue with the inventories, I couldn't imagine growing marijuana and having somebody come in my house or in my garage or wherever it is and have them look at it. I'm not going to do it strictly because of the fear of that. And with that, remember this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Michael Waller. And our next speaker would be Kathy Kennedy.
Hello, I've been an advocate for medical marijuana for a long time, and I've done a lot of research, and I don't really have any new information, but I'll tell you this hearing and those rules, the feeling that I have is that you want to fight the will of the people of Michigan. There's a strong sense that you just don't like this new rule that 62% of Michigan voters have chosen. You don't slap down 62% of the Michigan voters and not pay for it down the road.
Mr. Lynn Allen.
Thank you. I'll remain seated if that's all right. I'll make this a lot briefer than I intended to. I'm Len Allen. I'm from Williamston, Michigan. I'm here as a patient and don't represent any organization per se. I do have experience working with the Department of Community Health in HIV community planning, prevention community planning. And I understand that you're trying to regulate a law that you see as potentially troublesome. However, I would like to endorse all the objections that have been expressed up to now. And I'll submit in writing specifics. In the interest of time, I'll not go through each and every one that I prepared to. I would like to add one additional thing, and that is the cost to register for persons. I approve of your intention in reducing the $100 fee to $25 for people on Medicaid, SSI. I think that's a very good idea. A lot of people are very hard-pressed in today's economy. I would encourage you, though, to include people who are on Social Security disability, and those who can document financial hardship, such as bankruptcy. The $100 in my case would be very difficult to come up with, and so that is Rule 11.1, to be specific. I will leave it at that, and just thank the other folks who have testified here for doing a superb job in providing the evidence that I think needs to be presented. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kim Shapiro.
Good morning. My name is Ken Shapiro, and I'm here to tell you about my experience with cancer, marijuana, and the law you are dealing with. I've had metastatic melanoma for the past 31 years. 30 of those years have been stage 4. I have had mets to my liver, lungs, stomach, prostate, spleen, pancreas, and cancer, and that is just the organs. I have had one kidney, my spleen, and half my pancreas removed. I've been on several forms of chemo, numerous forms of immunotherapy, as well as radiation, and over 50 surgeries. I tell you this to present my qualifications to speak about not only having cancer, but what it's like to fight it, and how marijuana helped me get through it. However, now you seem to want to take a law that was passed by the people specifically to alleviate the side effects of severe illnesses and their treatments, and make it more difficult and burdensome than necessary. I am very concerned with what you are doing, as it seems to me you are attempting an end run about what the people wanted and voted for, and what the legislature and opponents of the law want, by making the qualifications so burdensome and difficult to adhere to that people will not be able to or willing to conform with it. The qualifications that are being proposed range from the ridiculous to the impossible. For instance, the draft rules define the use of marijuana in any public place. That's Rule 1, line 17. Any place visible to the public, which in essence means every place, including my own home. This is not only contrary to the language of the law, but impossible to comply with. Furthermore, the draft rules imply that a patient is required to send their original copies of their identification, including their driver's license. That's Rule 3, 1BI. Again, by doing so, what would I be left with to produce as identification at the bank, the grocery store, when traveling, etc.? The draft rules state in Rule 3, line 1, that any person with a qualifying debilitating condition is required to apply for an ID, regardless of the fact that they might not even be interested in using marijuana. This law is going to be difficult enough for patients to comply with without having additional roadblocks placed in their way. It is going to be easy for patients to find. It is not going to be easy for patients to find physicians willing to break from the pack and going against the Michigan State Medical Society, as well as the FDA and federal law enforcement, regardless of the safeguards placed in the law. Physicians are going to be worried about losing their licenses or just the implication that they might lose their license, and therefore are going to be hesitant to put something in writing that their patient should use marijuana. Not because they don't think it's effective, but because of the possibility that there might be repercussions. The three examples above are easily corrected and could be written off as just mistakes in the writing of the rules. However, in conjunction with some of the following, it makes one wonder what the purpose of the committee really is. To make reasonable rules regulating the usage of marijuana, or making it so difficult that people won't be able to follow the rules. Other more difficult to understand rules are being proposed that will require a patient to disclose the names of other patients their caregivers serve. Why? This is an invasion of property of the other patients, and frankly, there is no need for me to know who else my caregiver is helping. It's none of my business. Since the caregiver needs to be registered with the state can check its own databases on who is serving whom. The draft rules stipulate that patients and caregivers submit inventory reports. This is totally made up by the committee and not in the laws passed by the people. There are already safeguards in the law that stipulate penalties for diversion. The idea the state can and will contact the federal government to confirm certain information on some people is not a rule but a threat. No one is going to allow their names to be submitted to the federal government, thereby putting their benefits into jeopardy. Another implied threat is the possible inspections of patients' homes or persons. This is mentioned in two places in draft rules. Once in the locked and enclosed facility section, and again in the monitoring and inspection section. There is nothing in the law as passed by the people that would allow this and brings to mind the Gestapo-type tactics of police breaking down the doors of seriously ill people in order to check that they don't have any more marijuana than they are supposed to have at a given time. Unless law enforcement has a legitimate, solid reason to suspect something is wrong, it should be taken for granted that seriously ill people are not dealing drugs and should not be exposed to, shouldn't be exposed to any more suspicion than anyone else who has gotten a prescription from their pharmacy. Finally, rules requiring patients to keep their marijuana in an enclosed, locked facility can cause those who are seriously ill and cannot access the facility on their own unnecessary hardships and is unreasonable. The law only requires that the plants, not the finished product, be kept in locked facilities. Patients are not going to be tolerant of bureaucratic red tape they need to cut through in order to get the relief they need. When told you are going to need chemo or some other drug with severe side effects that marijuana might help ameliorate, the last thing you need is government interference requiring you to wait an indeterminate amount of time in order to gather the required information, file papers, get ID cards, find someone to provide them with the marijuana, and get physicians to sign off. When they need it, and the process should allow for quick and easy registration, leading to the lessening of the pain and suffering they are going through. The process needs to be streamlined, and this committee shouldn't make it any more difficult than it already is. There are no such requirements for drugs like Oxycontin or Vicodin, which are much more powerful than marijuana. People shouldn't have to break the law in order to receive the relief they need. The states are leading the federal government in this arena, and it is the states that need to show the federal government how to work with patients and their physicians and not unwarranted roadblocks before them. It is my hope that you will review the draft rules and make them more reasonable and easier for people to comply with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Staff Bowman.
Hi, I speak to this group as one of the supermajority of voters who approved this amendment to the Michigan Constitution. I'm also supported this cause by petitioning with the Michigan Coalition for Compassionate Care to place it on the ballot and through my work with the Libertarian Party of Michigan. The spirit of this amendment was to lift the climate of fear under which medical marijuana patients suffer. Some of the rules proposed by the Michigan Department of Community Health clearly violate the spirit of that law by requiring patients to place themselves in danger. While the department may have some serious misgivings with this law, they do not have the authority to trump the voters and the state constitution by sabotaging it. This organization's role in the law is to issue ID cards to qualifying patients and to set procedures and fees for that purpose only. This law does not delegate the department the role of monitoring the distribution and inventory and storage of marijuana. It is the patients, not the product, that this new amendment issues authority to the Department of Public Health on. To the extent that the Michigan Department of Community Health is exerting this authority, which may have been granted under some prior laws, it's abusing that authority if it's using it to intimidate patients. And furthermore, the newer amendment actually has statements in there that these issuing of cards is not to be used as a reason to violate a patient's privacy, thereby superseding any prior regulation that may have made that possible. Patients are not accountable for the manner in which a medicine is produced and distributed. That has been true with patients in the past with other medications. I don't see how it's any different here. In addition to maintaining the climate of fear, the requirement that patients submit inventory reports places patients in genuine danger of prosecution by federal authorities who have routinely exceeded their constitutional authority by regulating intra-state commerce in states that have legalized medical cannabis. This presents a physical danger to patients as well, since while incarcerated, they would not have access to their medicine. Finally, these rules contain language that attempts to redefine property ownership by stating, quote, public place means a place open or visible to the public. This one sentence removes a long-held distinction between public and private. It is in the interest of voters and the state to avoid costly legal battles that are likely to ensue if these rules remain in effect. It would be a waste of time for this department. It would be a waste of time for the other agencies and to the courts. It would cost the taxpayers burdensome amounts of monies in this time of economic crisis. And it would be, most importantly, unfair to the patients who have courageously had to use a medicine that has been illegal for all these years and who may finally be able to get a break. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, I'm sorry if I believe this is Gers Avery.
That was pretty close. You can call me anything you like, except late to supper, okay? It's Gersh Avery. Right off the bat, as the meeting was open today, we were told that we were here to discuss the regulation of medical marijuana in Michigan. Let me make this very clear. The voters took that out of your hands. We are here to discuss the process of issuing ID cards. That's what you regulate. You do not regulate medical marijuana. You regulate the ID card application process. That and the approval of new conditions. There is an entire section of law that is in effect now, and that's the affirmative defense section of the law that you have no regulation over whatsoever. You've been giving the state the impression that this law doesn't go into effect until April. That is incorrect. It went into effect on December 4th. People are protected in their medical use of marijuana in Michigan now.
I'd appreciate it that while speakers are providing testimony, that every time they say something, people I know you support what they may be saying, but if you'd please refrain from clapping or any other outbursts while the speaker's providing their testimony, I'd appreciate it because it'll just help things to go a lot smoother. Please continue, sir.
The voters in the state of Michigan were forced to take extraordinary action to remove medical marijuana from the hands of bureaucracy because our government has proven itself to be so completely inept in this topic because of so many political strings that are attached. If aspirin had FDA, yes sir?
Please, would you please tell me or make your comment, define your comment to the proposed rule or whatever rule it is that you have issue with or you'd like to make a comment.
Any concept that's being expressed by this agency, by this department, that the ID card is required to be protected by the law does the public a disservice. If the criteria, this strict list of diseases that is listed, is the only diseases that are allowed to be treated in this state under this law, then this entire section, brand new medical discoveries in this field will not be able to be applied until they receive the blessings of the state. This is in effect a Schindler's List of conditions. If you have this condition, you can live if it's determined that this is a life-saving medicine. But if your condition is not on this list, it doesn't matter if you're going to die or not. You're required by the law to die because you can't get this medicine. An example of that is antibiotic-resistant staph infection. It's been proven lately that marijuana kills this infection. Doctors are coming to their wits' ends on this particular infection going through hospitals. And most doctors don't even know that they can save patients' lives with marijuana. It's not on the list. It is covered in the law under the affirmative defense section, which does not require ID cards for the protection of citizens using marijuana with the permission of their doctor. A doctor and the patient working together can save the patient's life from antibiotic-resistant staph infection if they get to it in time. 6 months waiting for a bureaucracy in Lansing to determine that this is actually an effective medicine for saving someone's life means that person dies. Marijuana is a life-saving medicine. It's not just for alleviating symptoms. It can save lives. There are thousands of people around the world right now that are trying to make extracts of marijuana to try to save their lives from cancer.
And this pertains to which rule?
This pertains to the forced requirement of people to register and the perception that this law isn't in effect because this department hasn't blessed it yet. That's inaccurate. The law went into effect on December 4th. Please fix that. People's lives hang in balance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Amanda Potter.
Thank you. I will be brief. I am a patient who has been diagnosed with severe depression, persistent insomnia, and debilitating migraines. Because of a current conviction of a misdemeanor for possession of marijuana, I have not been able to use medical marijuana in order to help what I have been diagnosed with. For the past 6 months, I have been used as a guinea pig by the medical community, going from this antidepressant pill to that antidepressant pill, when I know from experience that medical cannabis helps me. There are other people I know in this state who are in the same situation I am. Without it, I can't sleep at night to wake up and tend to my children the next day. It does not impair my ability to be a good parent. It does not impair my ability to decide what's right and wrong for my children. It helps me to take care of my family. It helps me to take care of myself. And the list of diseases that you have here, you're almost requiring people to be on their deathbed before you're going to allow them to do something that helps. I'm tired of being used as a medical guinea pig, going from this pill to that pill, when I know what's going to help me. And my doctor knows what's going to help me, because from experience, I can tell her. And because of the list of diseases that you're saying has to be on this list before people can be allowed to do something that helps is absolutely ludicrous.
Stop you for just a moment, just to remind you that the list of medical conditions were in the law.
Well,
It was passed. So,
you know what?
rule
I
was
would
it?
rather be sitting there smoking cannabis every single day than having to think about what suicidal side effects that my antidepressants are going to have on me when I know that the cannabis has none. It is the difference between whether or not I decide to stay on this earth from one day to the next or not. And those types of conditions need to be considered.
Is there a comment that you have related to the rules?
And that's what I'm addressing, sir. The list of diseases that you have here is not broad enough. We trust our medical community with way more dangerous drugs to prescribe to individuals without having to provide photographed ID or any other such documentation of who we are. There is no reason why we can't still trust our medical community to decide what's best for its patients. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Timothy Vanderlyn.
Hello, Timothy Vanderlyn, Lansing, Michigan. I have a comment about the $100 rule that you guys have. That's roughly about a little over $8 a month per person per year, you know, to go for a year. Plus you're requiring the people growing it to also fill out forms, and I'm certain that there's fees. I'm just wondering how many government programs that are already out there are going to be canceled for the first year or 2 years that you guys are going to be determining whether it's going to take over $200,000 to get this program running, just like the driver responsibility fee or law or whatever you want to call it. Canceled a whole bunch of programs that were desperately needed for a law that absolutely has no basis other than to punish poor people. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tom Higgins.
Hello, I'm Tom Higgins. I'm a medical marijuana user. I've been a medical marijuana grower for over 20 years. That's over 50 crops indoors. I'm a master grower. I have hepatitis C. I had given me 90 days to live over 12 years ago. Instead of quitting marijuana and going for a transplant, I'm here today. If I had went for a transplant, chances are I'd be dead by now. I won't follow the rules as they're now. I will just keep growing on my own like I have been. I was arrested 6 years ago when my house caught on fire, and the police found 78 of my marijuana plants grown in the attic, and my lawyer got me off completely. My case was dismissed with prejudice, so I could not help at all with this push for the marijuana being Proposition 1, and I really want to thank everybody for doing that for me. The only thing I could do was vote for it. But I wonder why I'm not on that commission. I can tell you everything there is about growing marijuana. I can tell you to have 12 mature plants, I have to plant 25 seeds, because half the seeds are going to be male and half are going to be female. So right off the bat, we got to do that. In order to have a plant that you know is going to be exactly alike, like that's what people want, is they want 12 plants alike so they all fit in the same space. The best way to do that is with clones or taking cuttings. With that, you need mother plants. You need at least one for every strain you're going to grow.
Mr. Higgins, you said a moment ago that you wouldn't follow the rules the way that they are now. Could you tell me what the issue is with the rules?
The rules is you only have 12 plants.
Okay.
I need to have at least 25 plants for each 12 I'm going to grow. In maturing 12 plants, fine. I can get along with that. I smoke an ounce of marijuana a day. That's over 25 pounds a year. So I only get 2 crops. I have to grow big plants in order to get the amount I need. I get a half a pound per plant on average. I have to be able to have 15 pounds in my possession at a time when I harvest. What else can I do with it? I can't trust it to give it to anybody. I refuse to. I refuse to turn anything over to the police. Absolutely refuse to. After all the harassment I've gone through in my whole life with this sense of this, there's no way I will. I would be real happy to help you with anything I can help with. People were saying that we'll be forced to grow outside on state and government land. That's what I do. I grow outside, and I always grow on state and government land so that nobody's property will be taken away. If I grow in a farmer's field and he gets caught, I got to go turn myself in because I can't live with myself. I'm serious. I'm not out to do anything wrong. I grow in my house too, but I can't grow enough in my house at one time. Now, hopefully with this, my oldest son has moved to China, so I'm going to turn his bedroom into a grow room. And I'm going to try to do it legally in my grow room. I believe I can. But the way it's going, it doesn't look like it. And as far as the conditions that's needed, it says in Proposition 1 that anybody from any other state or any other country who has a medical valid card, they can get marijuana here. So that means that that's all we got to do to figure out conditions is check out the conditions in every other state and country that's already legal. That's the ones that are legal here. We cannot have it legal for foreigners and people from other states to come into our state, and then the citizens of Michigan don't have that protection. We need that. There's a whole lot of people who need it, more than just 3-4 diseases. I'm alive here today for medical marijuana. I haven't been able to take an aspirin or a Tylenol even for years without the fear of it killing me. When I get infection and have to take antibiotics, after 4 days I'm in bed. I can't get out of bed except to go to the bathroom. That's it. And by the time I'm at the end of my antibiotics, do I take this last one and risk dying? I can't take pills at all. It's a life and death situation for me. Nothing's going to stop me from growing marijuana. If I get thrown in prison, I'll find a seed and I'll be growing it. I can grow marijuana up into that light with toilet paper and watered down pee. I can. Watered down pee makes perfect fertilizer, and I can wrap it up in toilet paper. All right. Thank you. Can I say one more thing? I grew an indoor crop last fall, a seed crop, in hopes that this would pass. I have 3,000 to 5,000 medical marijuana seeds. It's Free Leonard, named after the Native American activist Leonard Peltier, to bring attention to him. I want to give them away to sick people. That's all I want to do. I don't want to make a penny.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our next speaker is Ronald Higgerson.
Hey, how you doing? Ronald Higgerson from Michigan. I had the misfortune, let's see, my birthday was the 31st, and on the 1st, my next door neighbor was beating his wife. She called. Unfortunately, I have respect for the Flint police, but they got the wrong address. My plants are now at the Flint police headquarters. I'm going to use affirmative defense. I do not agree with some of the rules that you have. Rule 11, I'm poor. I never went on SSI, never went on unemployment. I have 4 compressed vertebrae, 2 pins in my jaw, 3 screws, still have a broken hand that's not healed. On Rule 11, what about, like, if you make less than $5,000 or $3,000, help me there. The rules I want is transfer between caregivers. I have to, like Washington, I've been reading the law there, we have to have a supply. Now, I have a back injury. I'm in chronic pain all the time. It looks like, it's upper back, so I can lift stuff, but I'm in chronic pain all the time. Now, I need a good supply. Right now, I'm out. It bites. I can't do nothing. And so that's what I want. I think it's already written in the rule there. I've read this 150 times. I'm an ex-truck driver. There's enough loopholes where I can drive a lot of semis through them. So I want your help, because I'll drive them. I mean, if there's a lawyer here, I'll go for it, because this is a dream job for me. I got back injury. No one's going to hire me because they're going to drug test me. Now, I can fool your drug tests, but I don't want to. This is a dream job for me. I mean, we'll see if I even get my stuff back. But I want to help people. Also, there is no interstate commerce clause, I guess, in the sense of this law. I want a rule that only Michigan residents can be caregivers. excuse my language, but I don't care about the other states. I want Michigan to be the best. I want a distribution system that is the best. Marijuana's here, or cannabis is here, okay? In 10 years, it's gonna be even stronger. I left the state in 1981. Now, I could have stayed around and got a job at GM. You know, family's been here. All my relatives work there. But with the rules, we've got to have the rules so we can save the state. University of Michigan, Michigan State, General Motors, the UAW. I've been gone since '81. It's worse than Flint. Help us with these rules. Now, another rule that I would like, and this came up with, I'd like to commend the police department, except for the officer who came in my house after I told him no. And he came into my house, and after that, I just, and his search warrant was at.
Let's go ahead and define ourselves to the rules. So.
Okay, I gotta mention to you, I lived in the state of Nebraska. You can limit me on my amount of time, but it's a public hearing. Am I correct?
I guess what I'm asking.
Well, to get to where I'm going. Okay. Rules regarding when police come to seize equipment. There should be rules. It's hazardous material. I had to let the police know so they wouldn't hurt themselves. That's another rule that I'd like because it's mercury. So a rule, if they're going to seize stuff, there should be some kind of rule so everybody's protected. I didn't want the police to get hurt. You know, right now okay. Basically, that's all the rules. Just, you know, I don't know who's wrote these rules, but somebody said it seems like the voters voted it in, and y'all are just trying to find a way to stop us. And I want to be legal, and I'm going to use affirmative defense, and I believe I'll have a case. And please, let's save Michigan. Nobody else is.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is Greg Zarotny.
Thanks. Good morning. My name is Greg Zarotny. I'm with the Michigan State Police. I will submit a detailed list of some technical concerns we have with the proposed rules. I just wanted to point out two in this public forum that we have. The first one is in Rule 15, which talks about the turning over of the medical marijuana to law enforcement if a patient, I would imagine, died or was cured, either one. I know that our department, the state police, doesn't want anything to do with accepting any medical marijuana from anybody. And I would imagine that most law enforcement agencies would feel the same way about taking the medical marijuana. So what we would suggest as a change to that rule is to mandate that the medical marijuana be either destroyed or somehow legally transferred to another patient so they can have the marijuana. Again, it's burdensome on law enforcement for someone to come in and to destroy 12 plants, or plants can be very large, or some marijuana. So, and the second thing I'd like to point out in that rule is that it does talk about providing a receipt. Again, I don't believe that the rules or the department can mandate that local law enforcement provide any type of receipt for this. So that's just another point I'd like to make about that rule. The second rule is Rule 21, and this was talked about by other speakers regarding confidentiality. And the statute and the rules talk about divulging certain information to law enforcement. And I'd like to point out that from a law enforcement perspective, all we really want to know is this person a registered patient or a registered caregiver? So we don't arrest them. That's the most, because the people that aren't and they have the marijuana, they're most likely going to get arrested. And those that are registered patients and are registered caregivers, we want to ensure that they don't. So we want to have 24/7 access to this type of information. Namely, that the patient is still a registered caregiver and their license or their card is good, and name, date of birth, things like that. We want 24/7 access, and we would like that access to be through the law enforcement information network, the LEAN network, which is only accessible to law enforcement people. Again, I said I have a couple other technical concerns that I will submit to you in writing by the 9th, but those are the two main ones I'd like to point out this time. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Charles Snyder.
Hi. How you doing? Thanks for having me. I'm concerned with laws that, or excuse me, the regulations that would rewrite the definition of public space, inventory report, and keeping the medicine locked up, just to get those on the table. Anything I speak about will be leading towards why I believe those regulations create a burden on patients. A little history, I guess. I started co-founded the Flint Coalition for Compassionate Care, and it was the 5th city here in Michigan, and then helped play an integral role. And as a result of my level of my involvement, nail patella syndrome is one of the nail patella syndrome, which it's a rare genetic bone disorder. I'm fortunate enough to have my disease as one of the listed illnesses. However, I do also believe that with the proper scientific research, I believe that should be able to be expanded as time progresses also. Just basically, the reason I think the inventory report is also a bad idea, number one, people have, I will reiterate, federal law is still does not permit the use of medical marijuana, which I also believe is kind of hypocritical, because in my case, the federal government is supplying a fellow nail patella syndrome patient, George McMahon, with 300 marijuana cigarettes a month. So maybe, and it's grown at the University of Mississippi and sent to their doctors in a tin can every month. So, there's just a contradiction there that exists. I understand, but I just think that it's important to know that while even until 1937, 50% of all medicines had cannabis extracts in them. So I think by making these laws to limit patients' access to medicine also prevents the natural evolution of this medicine coming back into our physicians' cornucopia of medicines that are safe and effective and don't have the debilitating effects that narcotic pain medicine does. I just recently, I'm 3 months off of OxyContin, and I had been on it for 8 years, and I feel better than I have in my life, and I just want to make sure that the department realizes that if they put harsh regulations on, they're just basically forcing patients into a position where they're going to have to rely on heavy doses of narcotics, and I don't want to go back to that route. And as far as the gentleman from Flint just spoke, he had some run-ins. I believe the inventory report and coming for inspections and stuff, I have not been diagnosed, but I'm very sure I have a post-traumatic stress disorder from a run-in with police in Genesee County. I was providing my own medicine in my house, and they kicked in the door, and I was physically assaulted, and told that I did not have a disease, I was only faking it, and that if I didn't shut up, they'd take me downstairs, hog-tie me, and beat me even worse. So you're asking us to have to deal with people, and I'm not. My brother's a police officer too, so I'm not. I know there are good officers out there, but the few bad apples have ruined it, if you will, for people like me. Even the thought of a police officer even coming near my house was enough to raise my heartbeat and have me really extremely nervous and full of anxiety because of my past run-ins with them. That in itself creates even more of a burden. When I first got involved in trying to change these laws, the whole point is to bring almost compassion for the sick and dying and to relieve their suffering and to try to make their last moments of their lives for those that are terminally ill more comfortable, and to allow those that are trying to make it on a day-to-day basis even be able to provide for themselves and their families. And that brings up the definition of public space, because if you have a child, you want to step out on the front porch to medicate, you're running into trouble there. That's one big problem I see with the definition of public space, and it's obviously important to limit. We have ways to limit cigarette smoke. I think that would restrict our ability to medicate, and that's about it. I mean, everybody else has been really thorough, and I just wanted to add my personal, I guess, take on things, and let you know the importance of making the access to medicine is very, very positive and transparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.